Today I'm working in my Strathmore visual journal and the page has been prepared with gesso beforehand. Here I'm using a fresco finish paint by Paper Artsy to cover the complete page, and the colour is Nougat. This is a Crafters Workshop stencil called Mini Harlequin, and I'm going to use this along with Prima 3D gloss gel on the page, and I've selected the gloss gel instead of a texture or modelling paste which I normally work with, because this has a transparent quality when it's dried and I want to be able to see the Nougat paint underneath this. Here is the 3D gloss gel once it is dried, and you can see that it has a transparent finish. Next I'm taking some golden fluid acrylics in quinacridone, nickel azo gold and alizarin crimson, and I'm going to apply these over the page in the areas where the 3D gloss is, and then I'm going to use a baby wipe to spread some of that paint into other areas of the page. Once I'm happy with the spread of the paint and how it's blended, I also use the baby wipe to remove that paint from the top of the 3D gloss gel. These are a combination of H20 and Cosmic Shimmer Watercolour paints, which have a shimmer or pearlescent finish. I'm working here with the Cosmic Shimmer one, which is copper sheen, and I'm applying it with a brush in the first instance and then softening it with a baby wipe. And here is the second colour. This is the H20 in the colour Black Cherry, and I'm using exactly the same technique of applying it firstly with a brush and then softening the colour with a baby wipe. This is a French script background stamp by Stampin' Up, and I'm using this with archival ink because it's permanent. The colour is plum, and I'm going to stamp over various areas of the page. Mostly I'm paying attention to filling in those gaps, but I'm also stamping over the 3D gloss gel too. This is 260 GSM smooth white cardstock, and I'm going to make these pieces into tags using my Tonic Studios punch, and then I'm going to paint these using the fresco finish paint by Paper Artsy that I used at the start of the project on the background of the page. This is the Nougat colour. Once the paint has dried, I'm using a distressing tool by Prima to create a ragged edge on each of the tags. Now I'm taking the crocodile tool by We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm using the 3/16 hole size to create the hole that you would traditionally find on a tag. To add some texture to the tags, I'm taking some Distress Crackle paint in Rock Candy, which is the clear one. This is a product by Ranger, and this is going to create some crackles in the surface. I'm just applying this in a couple of areas, not all over the surface. Here you can see the crackle paste once it has dried and the texture that it creates. Next I'm taking some of the golden fluid acrylic. This is the nickel azo gold, and I'm applying this over the crackled areas and then softening it with a baby wipe. . . 。  . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . This is the H2O colour that I've already used on the background in Black Cherry, and I'm adding some of this in the same manner as the Nicolazo Gold, and blending it with the Baby Wipe, and this is so that the tags will integrate well into the rest of the page. This is the same archival ink that I used to stamp the background on the page, and I'm using this with a piece of Ranger cut and dry foam to edge the tags. Now I'd like to stamp on one of the tags, so I've taken a Tim Holtz stamp set called Elements of Time, and I'm using a stamp positioner so that I can place the text exactly where I'd like it. In this case, I'm stamping slightly over to the left hand side of the tag, and I'm using archival ink in jet black to stamp with. For the next part of the project, I'm going to cut some die cut leaves, and for this I'm using a die set by Impression Obsession and also 2 leaf dies from the Tim Holtz Movers and Shapers dies. And I've cut these from 160 GSM cardstock. I'm going to use a combination of H2Os and Cosmic Shimmer watercolour paints to add colour to the leaves. And so I've chosen my colours, and to begin with, if you're using these watercolour cakes, you need to spray them with some water and leave them for a few minutes. When the paints have been left for a few minutes, they become a nice creamy consistency and the colour is much more intense when you apply it. The theme of my page is autumn, so the leaves have been painted in colours to reflect this. I've started with green in the centre of the leaves because that would be the last part of the leaf to turn in colour, and I've followed this by a gold and then some oranges, browns, and to finish with some of the black cherry so that the leaves have a bright crimson edge. After I have finished painting the leaves, I spray them with a little bit of additional water so that they are really saturated, and then I'm screwing up the pieces of paper and then unfolding them again, but not completely, so that they have wrinkles in them, and this traps the mica from the paints into the crevices and makes them shimmer in those places. As a final touch, I'm using the Plum archival ink with a piece of cut and dry foam to edge all of the leaves. When the colouring of the leaves is complete, I want to add some of the crackle paint in 1 or 2 places, and this is to give the illusion that the leaves have been outside and have raindrops on them, and that illusion will be created when the crackle paint dries because it dries with a glossy finish. Going back to the journal page, I decide to add some more stamping, and for this I've chosen a Crafty Individuals flourish stamp, and again I'm using the archival Plum, and I'm stamping around the edge of the page to form a flourish border. Next, I'm arranging the tags onto the journal page, and I'm going to use golden soft gel medium in a semi-gloss finish to adhere these to the page. I've chosen the semi-gloss because of the pearlescent nature of the H2Os and the Cosmic Shimmer paints. I don't want to use a matte medium or gel because it will ruin the finish of those pearlescent paints. Now I want to intensify the outer border of the page, so I'm using the black cherry and I'm applying it quite liberally to begin with, and then I'm softening it with a baby wipe. I also decided to use the black cherry paint around the edges of the tags to give them more definition and create depth. Now it's time to add the leaves to the project, and I'm arranging them both on the tags and onto the background also. When I'm happy with the arrangement of the leaves on the page, I'm using the soft gel medium with a semi-gloss finish to attach them. Once all the leaves have been attached, I'm taking a medium with a gloss finish to go over those areas where the distressed crackle paint was layered onto the leaves. And the reason I'm doing this is because the rock candy crackle paint does tend to flake off, I find, especially if it's handled or it's in a journal page that is constantly having the pages turned. So this is the fix that I found for that problem. If you paint over it with another medium, something like a gel medium or a multi-medium, it's going to fix it in place. In this case, obviously I've used the gloss because it had a gloss finish and I wanted to maintain that finish. And as this project comes to a close, I did want to just talk about the quote for a minute. I've chosen this quote about time because I think autumn is a very reflective time of year, and it reminds us about things changing and coming to an end, and cherishing each moment that we have. That is all for today's project. I really hope you enjoyed watching. There will be a link to the full product list in the video description, and there you will also find links to my social media sites.